Welcome to our community. Susie Thomas with you this morning. We welcome our friends from Tikva, Hands of Hope, to the studios today. Thank you so much for being here. We've got Leslie Doan and Michelle Humble. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Well, we love having you come back. And Tikva, for somebody who might be new in town and they've not heard of Tikva, Hands of Hope, first of all, how did this get started? Michelle, I'm looking at you. How did this all get started?
Well, about 8 years ago, I dragged my mother on a spring break trip. That's not your traditional spring break trip. We went to Chicago, Illinois for a missions trip of sorts. We served at an organization called By the Hand, and they do basically what we're doing here in Canton. And on that trip, I fell in love with the program, and so did my mother, and I couldn't think of anybody better to lead it than her. So we talked a lot about it on the way home, and that year she decided to get it started. So it's an after-school program in downtown Canton.
Yeah.
What tries to offer as many resources as we can. We want to impact the student mind, body, and soul.
How many students are you serving now, and about how old are the students?
Well, currently we have about 60 students, and
Wow.
they are first grade through 8th grade. And then actually we have a couple high schoolers this year who have been through Tikva, grew up in Tikva, and are now volunteering and helping us out.
Oh,
It's
my
really cool.
goodness. So
Yeah.
it's come full circle
Yeah.
already in
Yeah.
those number of years.
Oh, yeah.
So, and since in those number of years, your mom since has retired and passed the torch on, she couldn't
Yeah.
think of anybody better to run it than you.
Technically, Leslie is our boss of the applesauce. No,
That's
yeah,
right.
you know, it's been great to see the program grow and change and try to meet more and more needs that we see pop up here in Canton.
Yeah,
So-
let's definitely let everybody know what each of you does. So, Leslie, you now are the head. What is
I
your title?
am. Well, my title is Executive Director.
And
So,
Michelle, what do you do?
I'm the communications director, so that's why you get to hear me a lot.
Very cool, yes. And both of you get to know the students?
Yes, well, mine is more behind the scenes a lot and working with the funding and sponsors and donors and that sort of building those relationships. But I also take time to be on site. So I try to get down there at least twice a week during programming, and so that I can get in the classrooms, and I honestly just really like it. And so it's not like, oh, I have to go to work. It's like I get to go to work.
Yes.
Okay,
Isn't that the
like
best?
tag the little ones off to
Yeah.
dad, and I get to go down and just like read books with them or help them with homework and be a part of, what's going on. So,
What do you see going on?
well, while you're there, you'll see like homework help. That's a big thing. A lot of our kids don't have that support. So like I said, helping them with homework or helping read to them, little things that we do with our kids at home, but maybe they don't get, whether their parents are working long hours or they're just not there to help them with that. We get to do that. We get like physical activity time where they're playing games, or we have a courtyard at the church where we are. They get to go outside when it's nice. Just get them moving and getting their bodies moving and stuff. Snack, we always provide snack. They're always hungry when they get off the bus. We do enrichment opportunities like dance. Michelle's one of our dance teachers.
Neat.
But we also have yoga, a lady that does yoga with our kids, which is awesome.
Cool.
Science, we have chess and like mind games that we're teaching them.
Legos, we've done
Legos, building, constructing, that sort of
Good
thing.
old play. So they get
Yeah.
a little bit of exercise of their mind
Yeah.
after school, get the
Right.
homework taken care of, and then also some physical exercise as well. And a great deal of attention and love. That's the main thing.
And chapel time. We also do chapel
And
time.
that's the main
Yes,
thing.
yes. So we get to expose them to, biblical stories, but yet it also applies to them, whether it's with relationships or friendships. That's really cool. And then we feed them dinner. So
And so they have an after-school snack and
Yes,
dinner
yes.
before they go home.
Yes.
And the dinners would be what?
Oh, all sorts of delicious food. We have a food coordinator named Missy Lane, and she has been around the program for basically all 8 years in one way or another. She has had kids come through the program, and now she works for us and cooks. And we've had students who have proclaimed that Missy Lane's mashed potatoes are the best they've ever had. But yeah, she'll make all sorts of different foods that kids like, whether it's spaghetti, taco night's a big favorite, pizza, chicken.
Oh,
yeah.
She's got some good chicken.
Yeah.
What nights are they there? What nights are you open?
So we're there Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We actually split the junior high this year. So our girls come on Monday. And they're just there, the girls and their teacher. And then our junior high boys get to come on Wednesday. But that's when all the elementary is there too. So
all
3
right.
days a week. Yep.
It just is so cool how you have so many different things covered. And I'm wondering about volunteers to help with homework. You say some of these kids don't get the help at home. Sometimes that homework is a little bit hard. And I'm thinking maybe that might be why they're not getting the help at home. So where do you get your volunteers that understand Common Core?
Well, sometimes it's us pulling the older kids,
Right.
Those older kids, or some of the high school volunteers can actually help us more. But some it's just with, we get some kids from Walsh or from Malone that need to do volunteer hours, and they help with that. Or we have a handful of like steady, tried and true volunteers that just come every week, and whether we're Googling it online or working together to solve those problems. So.
Are you always looking for more volunteers?
Always, yes.
How does a person volunteer?
They can sign up online. We have a link on our website called Get Involved, and there's lots of different things under that one. But the one that we're pushing right now would be that volunteer spot. You can fill out all of the information online. It shoots us an email, and then we'll get in contact with you about coming to get some training. Because it is a different environment when you're working at Tikva. It's different than probably what most people would interact every day. And so we like to come and have a conversation with you first about that and give you a little bit of a scope of what you're going to see when you walk into Tikva.
What kinds of things would we expect during volunteer training? What kinds of different things do we need to prepare ourselves for?
Yeah, that's a great question. We try to cover a lot of information in a very small amount of time. So the first thing I'd say is just come prepared to try to soak as much in as you can. We obviously cover what programming looks like. So basically what Leslie was just running through in a bit more detail. We tell you what your job as a volunteer looks like, what to expect from the people who are working at Tikva. But we also cover a bit about the culture of poverty and what that looks like and what kinds of things to expect from your students. Because it's not going to be what you would expect from students who grow up in a suburban or even of wealth. It looks just a little bit different.
Let's talk a little bit about that. There's got to be some trust building, I imagine, that takes place. And we are living in an era where I think it's probably more challenging than it has been perhaps even in years past. Maybe you've observed. And let me ask you that. Have you observed a change in trust and maybe having to spend a little more time at trust building than in the past?
Yeah. The thing that for our students that builds the most trust is time. And
Yes.
it's a really hard one to achieve, especially with volunteers, because who has, 6 hours or more a week to invest, which we don't expect from our volunteers. We say 1 hour a week at minimum, just to make sure that you are building that trust. And so for us, it's really a matter of time. We had a student one year who one of our Walsh volunteers had forgotten what day it was and said, "I'll see you tomorrow," instead of "I'll see you next week." And this little girl the next day was just looking and looking and looking and was like crying because he wasn't there. And we tried to communicate to her, "Oh, it's okay, honey. He meant to say next week." But for our kids, being there, fulfilling those promises, it's a huge deal.
It's important.
We partner with Encompass Christian Counseling to do some trauma training as well. So a little bit of understanding of why that is so important for our students to follow through on those promises, because a lot of them have had experiences that cause them to not trust as easily. And so we also put that into our training as well, a bit of information about what that looks like. So.
Are you also on the lookout for people of color who would be willing to do some volunteering that makes it a little easier for the kids to find someone who looks more like they do?
Yes. Yeah. That is
Let's
also...
let's put out that call.
Yeah.
No, that's a great card to put out, and that's part of our training as well. We do some training on racial differences and what that looks like, and if you are not a person of color, what that looks like for you as a volunteer and how to be more open-minded. But obviously, we would love to have more people of color as volunteers and as staff. This year we've really been intentional about looking for minorities in our hiring as well as our volunteers.
What are some tricks or tidbits that you've picked up on how to build trust when a person steps into that situation?
I think for me, because I was new coming in, it's just the consistency of it. I'm always showing up and they're not going to get rid of me, even if they say, they're kids, and they're just kind of putting their feelers out there. Is she really going to say what she said? Is she really going to show up next week or tomorrow? Or is she going to really do what, does she have integrity kind of thing? They don't say that word, of course, but in their minds, that's what
But
they're
they know what it
thinking.
is,
Exactly.
whether or not they know the word.
Exactly. And so I think that's just been a huge part of it. Keep coming back, and I see that with those volunteers, the consistent ones that keep coming back. And you can see the bonds that are formed and those relationships are real genuine.
And like any kids, we like who likes us.
Right. Exactly.
If you expressed an honest and genuine interest in them and their lives, those walls kind of tend to fall down, don't they?
Definitely.
One of the biggest pointers we give our new volunteers is to remember their name. So even if you are brand new and it's only your second time at Tikva, if you can show up and say, "Oh, hey, Jayana, how are you doing today?" Just addressing a student by their name for the second time you've met them, it's a measurable difference in their interaction.
So when the kids graduate, go on to high school, and they're out of Tikva, they've finished 8th grade, you do see them again. What do you hear from them? Perhaps not the ones who come back and volunteer, but what kind of a foundation does Tikva give them for high school life and beyond?
Well, we're hoping it's a good, solid foundation. And actually, Sarah, our founder, we're working on building that up more because she knows those kids who have gone on to high school. And just touching base, just knowing that we still care about them, that they still have a caring adult in their life. And so she'll reach out to them and maybe meet them for dinner or take them somewhere, But I think it's just we're planting those seeds, whether it's through chapel or through, anything, just those little seeds that, will hopefully get watered. And if something happens in high school, they'll be able to fall back on those and say, you know what, somebody does care about me at Tikva or,
Yes. When you're talking about consistency, one thing culturally is consistency as far as attending something on a regular basis. How do you keep these 60 kids coming back every day? Well, dinner's got to be have a lot to do with it.
We offer a lot. But even more than what they receive, I think it's those relationships that Leslie's talking about. It's not only do they know if they show up, they're going to get dinner, a snack, but they also know they're going to see Miss Ashley, Miss Carla, Mr. Trey, Mr. Chad, Miss Tig. They know they're going to see these people, and those people are going to be interested in them and want to know how their day is going. And I think that's a lot of what keeps them coming back. I think also our parents know what to expect. Our parents who've had kids through the program for many, many years, they don't have to guess what they're going to get when they come to Tikva. They don't have to worry about it. They know what to expect from our program, and they trust it.
Have you been around long enough to get any kind of sense that the homework help and the interpersonal relationship help makes a difference academically in their lives? Are we seeing these kids finish school? What do we know?
Yeah, I think just last year alone, just looking at those 3rd grade tests or whatever that are the important ones. We've had one student comes to mind who actually we thought, oh man, he's not going to be doing very well, but he passed the test and he came back and he was so excited, and just seeing him grow and the teachers making comments about his work and the quality of his work, and it's just us spending that little bit of time helping him get it accomplished. Or we do have relationships with some teachers where they'll send the packet home with, some of our teachers actually go to this school and they're like, we know this won't be left in the book bag, so we're just going to give this to you. And they know that we'll get it done. So it's that relationship.
That
and
is
just
encouraging,
the extra help. Yeah,
isn't it?
exactly.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, because I know Canton City Schools have a goal of 100% graduation rate. They're not setting that goal for not 99.
No,
100%. And these kinds of things are the things that make that happen. Right. Oh, pretty exciting. Do you work pretty hand in hand with people from Canton City Schools?
Yeah, we have a really great partnership. They've been, it started with busing, which was great. They bused their children to us starting about, I think, 4 years ago now. And now we have students who get to see their Tikva team leaders at school because we send them to volunteer a couple times a week in the classroom. And that is an added bonus of just being in another spot in their life, school being one of them. And the teachers spend so much time investing in our kids that we want to make sure that we're part of that and we get to see how that looks. So,
well, you're doing an amazing job. I know it doesn't happen for free. And so we're going to take a short break and come back and talk about a very exciting fundraiser you've got coming up. You're listening to Our Community.